From the military for 9 years, into being a diesel tech, into an undergraduate down south, and finally finding his way back up here to Walsh. Today I have one of my students, Fred Lowe, in here. So Fred, I'm going to have you kind of introduce yourself and a little bit of your background. And then as we get into it, I want to hear what it's like to be not only a student at Walsh, but a former military student. And then somebody who's actually come all the way back from being more in the trades, in the diesel technician, into being in the School of Business now. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, and then we'll go ahead and dive right in.
Well, like you said, 9 years active duty in the Army, honorable discharge. I actually had I had some awesome experiences in the military. My background includes a diesel technician while I'm in the Army as well, and a recovery specialist too. 9 years, the time flew by fast. It didn't seem like it. Initially, I signed up for 6, and then I just kind of kept going, you know. Met a lot of friends, experienced a lot of the world. Like, I traveled, I've been to Korea. I have been to both Afghanistan and Iraq during the times of our conflicts with them. I also have traveled just in the States, right? I mean, one of the classes that I had to go take for being a recovery specialist took me down to Texarkana, Texas. And I never even knew that place existed, right? But it was nice. It was a nice experience. I got out of the military in Savannah, Georgia. And then from there, I was working using my diesel background at Pensky Truck Leasing. I worked there for about 3 years and some change. It was also an awesome experience too. But that is where my point of contention came with career progression and what I wanted to do with my life, you know.
Yeah. So you went from military into working for Pensky, and you and I had talked previously, and you'd said it was a great experience. You loved,
awesome.
Yeah.
It was great people. Shout out to Frank. He was my supervisor. I had a lot of friends that I met through there. I learned a lot.
I bet.
Customer support skill set was really built there. That was where I had to deal with people broke down on the side of the road. I dealt with service calls. I dealt with after-hours situations to where it wasn't even something we can do, but I just had to link them with the people that can get the job done and get them back on the road. So
Talk to me a little bit about what that transition was, because obviously military into being customer service are very different things.
Absolutely.
What was that transition like for you to go? I've been overseas, I've been doing this active duty, and now I'm helping Joe Schmo on the side of the road. What's that like? It
wasn't as difficult for me because I'm already kind of a people person, but it really showed me the strength of having good interpersonal skills. So going from where you know where you have to be, right place, right time, doing the right thing, just soldier. That's kind of a mantra that one of my command sergeant majors had. But it rang true, right? It wasn't that you didn't have to think on your feet at that time. You know, you knew what you had to do. You knew your taskings. When I got out the military, that was where the adjustment had changed, was getting into that and realizing that everything's not set up like that, right? It's not organized. It's very random. It's sporadic. Right. And that was kind of a shock to my system for a minute. But once I realized that I can do it, I kind of felt more confident. And then I said I want to do more of this, right? I like turning wrenches. I like solving problems in that way as well. But I realized it was cool to solve problems just by thinking and then talking to someone and saying, hey, we can do this. And then we come up with a plan and then we execute that plan.
Yeah. Absolutely. So now you've gone through the Pensky stuff for a little while, and now you're realizing that there's something else. And so you start looking at undergrad programs. Now you went to school down south. What was the college you went to?
Now the first college I went to was known as Armstrong University. It's now Georgia Southern. And I went for rehabilitation sciences, right? So I didn't really have a path that I was going for. I did about 2 semesters, and then I was juggling work, a relationship, and school and the National Guard. So I said something had to go, so school went for a while. And then later in 2018, 2019 timeframe, I had it was a death in the family, and I got some inheritance from them. So I kind of took a break from working for a little bit and spent that money. That's what, I'm not gonna lie, that's what happened, and I enjoyed it, but it made me question what next, right? Like, I like that, what do I want to do now? And I had a friend, I was Ubering. That's what happened. I was driving for Uber and Lyft, and I picked up someone, and we hit it off, hung out, and she explained to me that she was a pharmacy tech, like going to school to become a pharmacist at South University in Savannah, Georgia. And she said they got an awesome business program. I looked into it. They did. So I signed up. And when I first got into that class, when I first started attending classes, it was a nervous feeling for me because I didn't know what to expect. But we had Dr. Walker overseeing the entire business program. And one thing that she did in every one of her classes was every time we come into class, she'll say, what was in the news, right? So what was in the news? We always had to have a current event, be ready to explain it, because that was her getting us versed in understanding what business is and why everything relates to business at the end of the day. So
business isn't everything, but everything is business.
Everything is business, right?
So you did your undergrad, and then you said, so then COVID hit.
Yep.
And that changed, threw a whole wrench in things. Diesel tech, wrench, like the pun. And then, so tell me about what that transition was like. How did that screw some things up for you, and how did it put you in place for where you are today?
So I was attending they still had some VCT type of classes just because it may have been taught at another campus.
Okay.
Right. But when COVID hit, it completely restructured their entire program, right? And a lot of companies and schools had to, make a different transition. So it took me a while to get used to it. I had a lot more free time, and it showed that there were some weaknesses in my prioritizing and my scheduling. So I kind of took a hiatus from school during COVID for about a year.
Okay.
Right. During that time, that's when I kind of started getting into music and recording myself and just having fun with the free time that we had available, because it wasn't really much else to do. So I came back up here to stay with my father, help him out with a situation, and it was really good to see my family, see my friends, come back to Michigan. I love four seasons, but sometimes winter here can be harsh. But it felt good to be back after being at a place where 70 degrees is the average all year round,
Yeah.
So I got used to that. And then from there, I was looking again and saying, what do I do now with this, right? So with the military, the one thing about having an honorable discharge from the military, you're entitled to like post 9/11 Montgomery GI Bills. And so I was asking myself, why not continue using it, right? So I already had some credits from going to Armstrong, and once I had the credits from South, and I said, man, I only got a few more years left. The plus was, due to COVID, South had changed everything to being completely online, which now meant those classes were shorter course time, but it was accelerated. You pretty much still did the same amount of work, but instead of it being 11 weeks, it was 6 to 7 weeks, right? And I was like, oh my goodness. But I did it, right? I graduated, and that transition from graduation, I still didn't have a set goal yet, right? I still knew I just had theoretical knowledge, had some minimum experience with business.
The hands-on pieces.
Yeah, the hands-on pieces what we're missing. And I know that's the best way to learn, because that's how I learned mechanics, right?
Absolutely.
We started off in a schoolhouse, but then when you got done with the schoolhouse, you had to go test. We had to go apply the knowledge that we learned.
Right.
So now I was wondering, how would I apply this knowledge in a career field? And before I made that transition, I had spoken to a VR rep. The VA has a program called, it used to be Voc Rehab. Now it's called Veterans Readiness and Employment. So what it does is it helps our veterans transition. Now, Voc Rehab and VRNE is like specifically for vets that have some type of disability rating, right? I don't think it's a limit to it, but it just has to be some type of rating, because they want to help you retrain to find education, because maybe what you had, your skill set that you had from the military, you might not be able to do anymore, right? So she told me to look for the schools in Michigan. She said, hey, get a concentration in your business, so that like now you will have, so instead of it just being a business administration degree, you now have marketing or finances. Right. So I was looking around, and I looked up a lot of schools, I seen the Mike Ilitch School of Business, but then I seen Walsh, and I seen Walsh had like a lot of prestige behind it. And she told me Walsh really fits because I only had a year worth of time to do this in the first place. She was like, you only got about 12 months left in your entitlement. She said, Walsh has a real good program. So I looked at Walsh, signed up, and I seen Walsh had to make sure I looked at myself in a way, because this 2.75 was the necessary GPA to get in, and that was the thing. I was finishing during this time. I'm finishing my undergrad, so I'm like struggling real hard to really make sure I get because I wasn't really that focused at the time.
Yeah.
But then I had to be. So I pulled it. I think I got about a good 270, 275. They still let me in, obviously. And from there, once I got into Walsh, I seen that this was the right choice. Right, every last one of the classes that I've been in was relevant to like real world experience. Right, it wasn't just hey, we're doing this just to do this. It's like this is an assignment that they do in this career field. So when I got into Walsh, I felt very confident that when I leave here, it's not going to just be now I have a degree and I still don't know what to do. It's now I have a degree and I have some knowledge. Now where do I go apply it so I can gain more experience?
Exactly. You know, and I get to speak to this because you are in my class, and I get to teach students like you on a regular basis, and I get to see that recognition of a change. And it is different. And, you know, we always joke that, you know, Walsh may not be for everybody, but it is for those who want to be somebody. Yeah. Because this is going to be a little bit difficult. But when you leave here, you are going to be the most well-versed person in any career field that you want to do. One of the things that I like to do as a professor is when I grade papers, I like to add a little note on there. Is like, here's why this matters. Here's why you should care about this thing. And talk to me a little bit about you and I talked for a minute, and you were saying that one of your favorite things was, you know, and we can use my class in particular. Now I teach public relations class, and we really work on an RFP, so a request for proposal. And talk to me about what it was like when you got that first syllabus of like, you're going to be working on this entire thing, and then kind of how that's worked out so far. We got what, 4 weeks left in the semester?
About 3 weeks left.
Yeah. So talk to me about what it was like in that first experience of reading that and that overwhelming thing, and kind of how that's played out so far.
All right. So when I first seen it, to be honest, it wasn't that it was completely overwhelming because this is my last class, right? These are my last semester. So I feel a little more confident, but it was that introduction to a new concept, and then a breakdown over that concept over the next 11 weeks, right? So when you first see it, you're looking at it, you're like, oh, I don't know what this is. I'm a little more afraid, you know, iffy, you're not sure. But then when you see how the class is structured, I mean, all the supplemental teaching things online, the lectures, and then it's a team project. So that's another thing I want to say that I think was pretty awesome about Walsh. My undergrad, we did a lot of things as an individual, right? Even the speeches and things that we had to give, it was all a lot of individual assignments. Walsh has a lot of assignments that requires you to work with others, which I felt helped me gain more confidence in being able to go transition from another career field, such as being a diesel tech, to working in marketing somewhere, right? Because now I'm working with other professionals. Like some of these people who are in these classes are already in marketing. They're already working in these career fields. So now I get to see like, oh, okay, they're just people like me. And now we can get to, doing the assignments, right? Now we're going to work together. And that's what I liked about that. It helped my transition as far as going from being a diesel technician to pursuing the business career.
A completely different field.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's fun. And honestly, it's, you know, on the faculty side of it, it's a blast because I get to watch those transitions, and I get to watch those who come in, and it's a lot because I understand it. At the end of the day, it's like a 40-page thing you turn in. Like, it's a massive project, and I get where that is overwhelming. But now you're on week 8, and you already feel like, oh, we got this. Like,
we got it.
Yeah.
We only have, I mean, honestly, we're not going to give you everything. You're going to see what we already have a really good assignment, you know. but the way it was broken down and just the way that we work together to do it, you know, it also shows the advances of technology too.
Sure.
Just like, oh my goodness, we'll do some text conversations. We'll maybe do a video chat if we need to, right? But all of the assignments you can do like we on shared documents and stuff, right? And that was something I had to get used to too, because it was like, oh crap, we can just all work on this at the same time, right? And I was like, all right, it was an entirely new perspective, and it showed me how business is getting done in today's time.
Yeah, for sure. So that's the specific class. Now you've taken classes in a couple different versions of how to take class and attendance models. Talk to me about what part of that you liked, what part you don't like. And then, what is it different than what you thought?
Coming from other courses and coming to Walsh, I really enjoyed the fact that it was an option. It was an option that you guys had classes that are both virtual and on ground. I mean, one of the first classes I attended, one of the students was in an entirely different state, right? And she participated like she was there, And that alone showed me that this is a really good school because it offers flexibility, right? I love on ground. I love having books. I had to break out of getting textbooks. I'm used to that tactile. I like doing that, highlighting things, but then I realized the digital version is the same, right? And it's on my phone now, and I can take it with me. So that was a transition I had to get used to. But what I liked about it was that Walsh isn't just set like this class is only taught this way. This class is only on ground. This class, right, is really good.
Yeah, and it's for me. So I was a student before I was faculty, and I remember the time management piece of it became such a huge factor. But to your point, like the fact that technology has caught up now, I could be in line at the restaurant waiting for my seat, and I can read through discussion posts real quick, and I can be like, okay, there's another thing I can check off my list. It's the little things, and filling these little 15-minute gaps with whatever it needs to be, a response to it. Yeah. The productivity pieces are so huge. So I'm glad that you're getting that much out of the ability to choose, like, do I want to be on ground? And, and the cool part too is we offer classes that are on ground. We offer classes that are virtual, and we offer classes that are a combination of both. And you show up when you can, and you had a business meeting that ran late, or your kids are sick or whatever, and you can't come. Great. There's a virtual option. And those are the things that we cater towards. Now, one of the things that to me is always so fascinating is Walsh is literally designed around working professionals. Yeah. So if you're going to take classes on ground, they don't even start until after 5 o'clock. Right. They're after work hours.
Evening hours, right? And I like that, and that makes it even easier because traffic is almost in a die down phase, you know. But and it also for me it was the commitment, right? Knowing I had a day or two of class where I'm leaving somewhere, come in 6 o'clock, then I maybe get home at about 8:39, right? And then throughout the rest of the week, now I'm working on whatever assignments are due, or working with my team. Say, hey, we need to get this done, get that done. That was a point that you had mentioned earlier about time management. I think that's just something related to. I mean, it'll help you in your life, period. But when it comes to doing academic career, time management is your bread and butter. However you decide that whatever field that you want to go in is going to require you to know that you got to apply some type of time. Your school is your priority. You get used to everything's going to come up. It's going to be every excuse not to do it, right? And that's when I realized you got to make that choice, right? When do you make the choice to decide? And Walsh makes it easier. Like you said, it makes it easier to do the choice. Like, it's an app. The Moodle is an app on your phone. So like now it's not even an excuse for why you're not keeping up with assignments or don't know. Like, it'll nudge you. You could load it right into your calendar, right? To tell you when assignments are due. It just streamlined the process of time management, Yeah.
So. There's no reason to worry about those pieces, right? If we can let technology handle the remembering to do that, and all it's got to do is just give me a quick reminder, I work on that thing real quick. It's much easier.
You just focus on what's important.
Exactly. You free up the brain capacity to go and work on the things that are actually going to be beneficial to your future. Yeah. So speaking of future, let's dive into what's next for you. So you are in your final semester.
I am.
You are so close. How many classes are you taking this semester?
Two. I took them two every semester. Every semester.
Yeah, and that's a good way to do it, especially at the master's level. There's a lot of work in those things. So I mean, 2 classes a time.
More than enough.
It is, and I totally give you tons of credit for taking that on and knowing that it's going to be a lot of work. But 4 semesters a year, you do 2 classes at a time, you can fly through it pretty quick.
And I will say that the assignments weren't like undergrad. It wasn't like, it has to be 10 pages, 100 word count. It was, you guys are more focused on quality, right? Are we getting it? Do we understand it, right? Everyone on the faculty, every professor I've had, every instructor is there to help. They will always, if you don't get it, you could tell them, and they'll be like, "Hey, no problem here." Yeah. and I was like, so that right there was something that I liked about this school, was that it wasn't just about the metric of measuring how much you are doing. It's about how well you can do it.
Yeah. I mean, and I open to all of my students. Here's my cell phone number between 8 and 8. You need anything, you let me know. And I'm here. And I'm not the only one that does it. I did it because I was taught the same thing by my professors when I was here. And it is something that I do take a lot of pride in at what we do here is our professors are very open to being available. You need something, we're here for it. And a lot of times, the other thing too, is at least in all of the classes that I teach, and I know in a vast majority of the others, we don't do exams. We're not here for multiple choice stuff. We're here. I want you to write a paper that's going to be something that you're going to use in the real world. Yeah. So what, this week we talked about some media press releases, some multimedia press releases. Yeah. I want you to put one together. I want you to sit down and say, here's this piece, here's this piece, here's this piece. I want you to do the research. Who is it that you're going to send this to in real life? If I was to task you with this real thing, who are you going to go find, and who are you sending this to, and what does that conversation look like?
I like that aspect, the mock assignments. Mm-hmm. I like that aspect of it. It's like, think of this as if it's a real world situation, because now you're not looking in a book. You're looking for anywhere that information is available, and you're going to become more creative. Now you're not going to say, oh, it's a paper, how many words, nothing. You're going to look and say, okay, let me think of this idea. You're going to put it together, like you said, a working professional, right? So I think that structure is what allows students to grow and become even better professionals. You know, when they leave Walsh, they're going to leave here with a network of people that they can look to help out, and also they're going to be capable of helping others.
Exactly. So what's next? So you graduate this semester. What's the future look like?
Now, that's where it gets vague for me, because I'm still going to I've been looking at going back to school, right? I do music, so I've been looking to go back to school for audio engineering, because a passion of mine is to be able to open up my own studio. You know, that'll be a nice little business I could run. Isn't really time consuming. I set my hours. I charge you for the hours that you come. Yeah. But I also offer an opportunity for people who would like to be creative and need that creative space. So I'm looking at school, but I'm also looking into market research. I think market research is something I enjoy, because it spends a lot of it's based on the psychology, right? How we behave and why we make certain decisions and stuff. And for me, I think that's something that I enjoy learning, like how the mind works, why we do this, or why that's effective and why this isn't effective, you know? And that's the aspect that will make me choose marketing as a concentration, because there's a lot of psychology involved with that. And
let me introduce you to a couple of people, because we have a marketing consumer behavior class here that digs into that exact thing. We have market research.
I'm in a marketing insight. Consumer Insights is the class I have along with this one.
Exactly. So there's a lot of that, and then tying in the data analytics pieces of it. How do I use this data to tell a story?
Big data.
It's incredible. Well, you know, I think we've covered so much today, and really, again, I appreciate so much, and thank you for your military service. It's incredible that you've really had that pathway that started from a military piece, going into diesel tech, really being in really what is the trades, into an undergraduate degree, into a graduate degree, and now we're here going from military diesel tech into really looking at marketing, music industry, and getting into some market research. So I really appreciate your time today. I look forward to everything you have going forward, and please keep in touch so we can definitely monitor how good you're doing and help you out in any way that we can.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.